Do you know what true fear is? Uncertainty. Being unable to discern what is the truth and what is not. Fear is being certain in your correctness and then being outright wrong. Today is about that kind of fear, as today is about the Circleville letters. Let's begin. The town of Circleville, Ohio, was turned upside down in the year 1976. This is the year the letters began to flow in. The citizens were targeted. Individualized letters were sent to hundreds of recipients, equal in part threats of acts of violence and threats of leaking information, much of which, on a case-by-case basis, only the victim was aware of. The letters, postmarked from the town of Columbus some miles away, were delivered with no return address and contained threats in a blocky text form used most commonly to make it impossible to track. Lots of people were targeted, but it seemed the brunt of the personal attacks was saved for Mary and Ron Gillespie. Mary, who was targeted multiple times, was told she would have her supposed affair with a school superintendent exposed, and while she tried to hide the threats, when her husband Ron received one, things became serious. Putting it bluntly, the letter contained an ultimatum for Ron: end the alleged affair that his wife so strongly denied being a part of, or be killed. Reasonably, they tried to figure out who this writer was. Their suspicion eventually landed on brother-in-law Paul Freshour, and taking advantage of the panic, sent out a similar style letter to him to try and intimidate him, and temporarily, it seemed to work. On August 19th, 1977, however, things changed. A phone call was received by Ron, and even though we have no record of who it was or what was said, we can infer that it was serious, as Ron bolted to his car, pistol in hand. Very soon after, however, Ron's car was discovered having struck a tree, and Ron's body was inside, the pistol having been fired. The crash itself was ruled an accident. The Centerville writer continued his gimmick and curiously insisted in several letters that the investigation into the crash should continue, but to no avail. Over time, with more and more letters, Mary admitted the affair spoken of before did indeed take place, insisting, however, it was after the letters started. Years later, she discovered a sign threatening her family and, upon suspicion, a wired booby trap with a gun meant to kill her. A gun that was traced back to Paul Freshour from before, who again denied any and all involvement, citing a solid alibi and claims the gun had been missing for a long time before. A handwriting test was carried out, and Paul was found to, possibly out of desperation to follow the lead, resemble close enough to the writing in the letters to be tried. When the trial was over, he was convicted on attempted murder and was sent to prison. The letters, however, continued, despite constant surveillance and solitary confinement being put on Paul. Doubts were beginning to be cast, and even the prison wardens doubted his guilt entirely. At one point even, Paul himself received a letter while in prison, and even to the day he passed away in 2012, proclaimed his innocence. So the questions remain: was Ron killed? Why was Mary so heavily targeted? Was Paul really the writer? If so, how could he have possibly continued the operation while in prison and solitary confinement? And if not, who was the writer? We just remain uncertain. But thanks for watching, and thanks for the continued support. I couldn't continue this without it. Do you have a suggestion? Make it known. I'm always open to it, and it does help a ton. Thanks again, and have a good night.